Ladies and gentlemen, have any of you ever played a chess game that left you really mad? Have you ever broken something after playing a chess game? I'm talking about a computer monitor, keyboard, maybe a mouse, maybe a microphone, I don't know, maybe a squash racket. The game that I'm going to show you today got me so mad that I smashed my squash racket into a wall and broke the string. Just kidding. I actually broke that earlier today when I crushed one of my best friends in squash. I just wanted to flex on you. The game that I'm going to be showing you today is a sensational battle of two 400 ELO players, and it was sent in to me by a gentleman named Deepon. Deepon is very brave for sending me this game, and although I did not break my squash racket after watching it, I laughed a lot. I also cried and screamed and vomited and a lot of different emotions that chess makes you experience. I'm actually already very upset by the second move of this game because Deepon plays the ready. Or maybe Deepon doesn't know any openings and he's just playing knight f3, g3. But the ready is a hyper-modern opening where you try to control the center from a distance and you very rarely put pawns directly there. This is terrible chess for beginners. Look, I don't mean to tell you all to play the exact same way. You gotta try to put at least one, and if not one, then two, and if not two, then three pawns in the center, because that's the way chess is supposed to be played. I really like the way Anwar from Kazakhstan plays this, putting pawns in the center like this. By the way, if you're confused why 400 rated players get the Grandmaster title, it's because I do what I want. If I want them to be Grandmasters for the duration of the video, then they are going to be Grandmasters for the duration of the video. Make it into a Gotham video. I mean, I've got 1,500 of them. Some of you watching have probably been in a Gotham video. If you have, let me know in the comments. D3. This is called the King's Indian attack, and it should not be played by somebody who is 400. Let me explain this to you. A 400 playing the King's Indian attack is the equivalent of giving a new driver, a person that just passed their license exam, a very, very sophisticated Formula One race car. That driver is either going to drive that car at 15 miles an hour, 15 kilometers an hour, or is going to crash it into a wall. There is no in between. Black plays bishop b4 check. Now, I don't like to move bishop b4 check, but it's not for any reason you would think. I just don't recommend moving your bishop so far into the open where it can be attacked by enemy pawns. Like, if your opponent can easily block the check and block your bishop out like this is just pleasant for white. There's no need to do this, especially because after white offers you a trade of bishops, you go back. Why? It's like seeing the supermarket. Is that an American term, supermarket? Like the place you buy fruits, vegetables, firearms. Look, bishop back to d6. I don't know if that's a uniquely American thing, but I guess they're called grocery stores, markets, bodegas. I don't know what they're called in other parts of the world. In any case, it's like you see it across the street and you take the long way. Like you go around the block. I don't know. Anyway, white now plays the move b3. The move b3 and the move g3 are something that we call fianchetto, because you move the pawn up one square and then the bishop goes behind the pawn. The white bishop cannot go behind the pawn because you just moved it here. So I don't think this is a fianchetto. I think this is a 400 rated player moving one of their flank pawns one square. It's not called a fianchetto, but you see how fascinating chess is? Anyway, knight c6, knight c3, the players develop. And in this position, of course, white should be playing the move castles. This is why I don't recommend beginners play the ready, because they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know why they played certain moves. Pawn to d4. If you were going to play pawn to d3 on the third move of the game, and then on the eighth move of the game, you were going to decide that the pawn actually belongs on d4, I have a suggestion. Why don't you move it there on the first move of the game? And save everybody a whole lot of waiting. What do you think? I don't know, it's just my idea. I'm just the internet's chess teacher, you're just the 400. The move d4 is not a bad move. It's just a waste of time a little bit. Anyway, black plays a5 because, you know, black's 400. Like, you know, you leave a 400 unattended for 15 seconds, they move a flank pawn 2 squares. There's nothing wrong with this move. For a 400, like, as long as nobody's gotten projectile diarrhea, I am more than satisfied with the level of play. It's a very close position. How do you know that? Because neither side has traded any pieces and still 8 pawns are on the board, which means both sides have a very, very healthy setup of pieces. In close positions, you are looking at piece maneuvers, piece exchanges, and pawn breaks. White does not have a whole lot of pawn breaks. Black has a nice way here of activating this bishop, which means the move queen e2 is very inaccurate. because it walks directly into this. I've also just realized that I have no evaluation bar. Why didn't any of you tell me? I'm just kidding. I know I'm not live streaming. I prefer it that way. I prefer YouTube videos. Don't tell my live streaming audience I said that. You are much better than they are. All right. Now, look, friends, we've made it 10 moves. White still hasn't castled. You may be wondering, will White castle in this game? The answer to that question is a resounding no. If White had an option to castle, and White had an option to castle, and White had an option to castle, and then White had yet another option to castle, White's not castling, okay? That's just what we're getting. D-Pawn has not studied my videos closely enough, plays the ready, doesn't listen, doesn't castle. Not only does he do that, Black wanders into the position attacking the pawn on C2, and he is so selfish. He does the exact same thing back to his opponent. Oh, well, you want to move your knight out to the edge of the board? I will do the same. Except you didn't castle, so you lose a pawn, and you lose a rook. Now you can't castle, and you're down a rook and a pawn, because you didn't move your king out of the center of the board, and because you are just disrespectful. You just don't acknowledge what your opponents are doing. Think about this, my friends, my beginner chess friends watching this. What is chess? I'm not trying to ask a philosophical or complicated question. What is chess? It is a 1v1. At times it could be played in teams, but for the most part, 1v1 board game played on an 8x8 grid where you have 16 pieces that all have a bunch of different moves. It's a 1v1 game. There is a 1 on the other side. You wouldn't play a shooting game by walking out into the middle of the field and just firing away, which is exactly how you beginners play the game of chess. You wander out into the field, out in the open, just shoot, right? That's not how FPS games work. Your opponent is trying to get your pawn. You should defend. Okay, fine. Point made. Now, since you saw your opponent wander over here, you are like a cranky toddler. You're like, oh, he got a pawn and a bishop. So you take the bishop too, even though that doesn't make any sense because you're down a rook and a pawn. You have a finite amount of pieces remaining. Why would you trade them for your opponent's pieces and therefore nuke your counterplay? But that's fine. Queen takes d6. White plays knight e5. I don't hate this move. I hate you for losing a rook and a pawn, d-pawn, but other than that, fine. Black plays bishop a6. Excellent move. Excellent move. Oh my goodness, I cannot stress it enough. God bless you spending 14 seconds on that move. This is a fantastic move. At any given moment in a chess game, this is exactly how you're supposed to think in a game of chess, okay? Your opponent makes a move. You're supposed to ask, is there a threat? You look around, the knight can go to a bunch of different squares, but there is no threat. Even though this opened and this opened, there is no threat. Then you have to go through a checklist. Checks, captures, attacks. Is there any way to attack the opponent's king? No. Is there any way to capture something? Yes and yes. Are they good moves? No. Can I attack anything in the position? Yes. I can attack the queen because it's the most powerful piece. You should start with the most powerful piece. Bishop to a6. Is it a bad move? Does it improve my position and attack the piece at the same time? Yes. You should play the move. Bishop a6. Pawn to e4. If you are wondering whether or not White completely ignored his opponent's threat for a second time, the answer to your question is yes. But you know that every single good How to Lose at Chess playlist game starts exactly like this, with a player basically losing all of his pieces, and then the chess gods guiding him either to his very uneventful death or to a comeback. You will also notice that White spent a grand total of 3 seconds on this move. I actually think it's a little bit more than that. I think they're playing a 10 minute with 5 seconds bonus. So let's do some mathematics. That means 716 plus 5 is 721. That means the person spent 8 seconds on hanging their queen. Now, listen, let's do a little bit of math, okay? What is 7 times 60? 420. Right? 420 plus 24. 444. 444 seconds on the clock. And you spent 8 of them. What is 8 divided by 444? That is approximately 1.8% of your total remaining time you spent on hanging your most powerful piece on the board. I mean, this is just disgusting. This is, I should pick this up and call 911. That wouldn't do anything, because if D-Pawn's in India, I think they would just look at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, this is all to say that White lost the queen. And then a pawn. And then another pawn. And then his knight, and then his pawn, and then another pawn, and then he took a rook, but... This is the position. Can you believe that Black is probably not going to win this game? look, you're not an idiot. I mean, okay, maybe you are. I'm talking to a lot of you right now. Maybe some of you are idiots. I mean, statistically speaking, some of you are probably idiots. You just, you know, I hope you're not. I'm an idiot. Look, you're not an idiot. You are watching this video. Like, Black didn't just win this game, right? Like, James Bond doesn't just stop the villain and then the movie's over in 15 minutes. No, they gotta prolong it for 2.5 hours. Somehow, some way, something happens in this game. If we'd like an instant replay of the last few moves, this move opened up the queen, and White did nothing about that pawn. White could take here, but then White actually loses this, and I don't even think White saw that. Knight here attacks the queen of course takes, and now White does this, setting up a discovered attack. By the way, there is checkmate in this position. Always look for checks. Always look for checks. Sometimes you might checkmate somebody by accident. This is exactly why you have to always look for checks. But b5 is played in this game. Knight b2 is a clean loss of a knight. Now the pawn defended. Just get to the king. You gotta just get to the king here. And okay, Black loses the rook, and great find by d-pawn. Now, d-pawn, to his credit, in this position could have just resigned. But you know what d-pawn knew? D-pawn knew that deep down, well, no pun intended, d-pawn knew that deep down, if he saved this game, he might make it into one of my YouTube videos. And he's right. He's right. Black is up 16 points of material. That is nearly half of a starting value of a chess position, which is 39. Rook takes a1. Knight takes pawn. Black just wants to take all the pawns. I don't hate that. I don't hate that, if I'm being honest. Queen f3 is now mate in 2. Queen f3 is now not mate in 2, but you're going to win the rook. Instead of that, we have queen g3. I mean, White literally has no pieces remaining. It's just game over. The way you win this with Black, the easiest way to win it by far, is to sack the queen for the rook, win a pawn, maybe sack the queen for the rook, promote a queen, ladder mate. Because the rook is the only problem, right? There is a universe in which something like this happens, okay? Bishop takes, rook takes, back rank mate. You will notice, and you should notice as a beginner, whether or not your opponent's king is on a back rank and has no way to escape. It has not made what's called a fort. It cannot get out. So there are still ways to save a position when you have something like a rook on the board. The bishop is not going to save a damn thing. Rook c1 is played. Black has now won every single one of White's pawns. Queen h5 check, king c2, queen c5, and I would not even hesitate. I would just sack the queen for the rook. Just do it. It's not the right move. It's not the best move. But now White will never save this position. Now, Black kind of did the same thing by just losing the queen in one move. Black moved the queen around like 30 times and then just left it there, okay? I mean, this is the equivalent of owning a Ferrari, driving it through a town all over, and leaving it unlocked with the key inside, just in a random street corner. Okay, Black lost the queen, but still maintains a 7-pawn advantage. That's a lot of pawns. What Black should do now is push the pawns. For some reason, Black decides to push the h-pawn. Don't hate it. Pushes it to h3. Don't hate it. Rook h5, a4, knight g4, knight f2, GG. Bishop f4, the knight gets out of the way. Like, now you're 2 squares away from queening. Life is good. Now, knight f2 check. Okay, I kind of hate that. Like, you could have just went h2. You can't take the knight because of this, and if this, check, queen. So, rook g5, knight f2, the knight bounces around to e4. By the way, there was a fork in this position, but we don't need a fork. And suddenly, Black is probably going to lose one of the other pawns. Okay, bishop c7. Now, Black is only have 5 pawns, but at least a4 is coming down the board. Yeah, you can't stop both pawns. Rook takes h3. There we go. Bishop e5. And we have arrived at the fated moment of the game. You see this bar? And in this position, after being up, let's just back this up a little bit. Don't go anywhere. After being up a resounding 16 points of material, losing the queen for free, being up 7 pawns, being up 6 pawns, Black, against all odds, manages to absolutely forget about their king and blunders checkmate in one move. Why? Why would you move your king? For what? Black does it again. It's mate. Instead of that, white was so afraid of getting checked that white does this. Now it's really over. Cause you ain't beating a king and a rook and a knight and 3 pawns with just a rook. You had your chance. And now it's over. King e3. Now white has stepped into an X-ray. Okay, you still can't take the knight. Rook h4. GG. Rook here, rook f5, check. All right, the king runs forward. It's okay, fine. It's still winning any way, shape, or okay, surely not, right? I mean, surely not black gonna lose this game. I mean, there's no way. All right, there was rook g4 there. All right, then here comes the knight. Rook. Oh, it's mate. He hung mate again. The knight was covering mate, but now it's mate. Now it's mate. All right, let's play mate. Okay, it's fine. Knight g4, good, and let's go to e3. Let's defend our pawn. Okay, fine. You want to repeat moves? No problem. Let's give a check. Yup. Uh-oh. Suddenly your knight can't defend this. You gotta hope for a 4. Okay, so you hung your knight. You're losing now. You hung your knight. That's GG. That's game. Okay. No. Oh, God. But there's no way white knows how to checkmate with the king and the rook, right? Oh, my God. How does white know how to checkmate with the king and... Okay. You had to go here, right? Well, he's not going to know how to do it. At least black has that on his side. I mean, white is... God, he's 400. He has absolutely no idea how to checkmate. I mean, he's getting close, but he's not gonna actually figure out. He doesn't know how to do it. This is just a waste of... He doesn't know. It's a draw. They've repeated moves, right? And white won this position. Why? What? How? My friends... How do y'all manage to do this? How did he's got a king left and some friends. He had mate on the board and black just couldn't come up with a winning strategy. And there was mate and then there wasn't and then there was and then he still hung every piece and he hung his rook, and then he hung mate, but... You see why I asked you if you smash things after chess games? Get out of here.